Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to discuss the concept of development. Specifically, how do we define development as well as how we can measure development. The definition of development is quite difficult to narrow down. There are many reasons for this. The first of these is that there are over 7 billion people in the world today, and development in each of their lives is going to be slightly different. What does development mean to you, for example, or a friend from work or a friend from school? How do you develop as a person? How does a country develop? Which countries are considered the most developed and why? Let's go through some pictures of various regions and features of development around the world. Consider for yourself what the image shows about development, and where there are people, consider what development would mean in their lives. Here we see a queue of children somewhere in rural Africa who are probably waiting for food. Development to them would quite possibly include not having to wait in a queue for food, and rather getting a stable, nutritious diet of 3 meals a day. How does your idea of development differ to theirs? The people living in the Davari slums on the outskirts of Mumbai city in India live in cramped, often informal houses. What could development mean for them? Perhaps moving to a place where they have more space for them and their family to live? Slums are often dirty, so perhaps development also includes living in a cleaner, less polluted environment. Here we see a picture of the border between two places called Blauwbosrand and Kaya Sands. These are places in South Africa. South Africa is considered to be one of the most unequal societies in the world. Look at the contrast between the two settlements. The people living in Blauwbosrand have a much better material life. Material wealth. They have pools, gardens, and big houses. They would very likely consider development to be getting a faster internet connection or buying a new, fancier car. The people in Kaya Sands are living in tiny, informal houses with no gardens or pools. Their idea of development might just be to get to a point in their lives where that allows them to live in houses made of bricks with more than just a couple of rooms. Japan is one of the most highly developed nations in the world by statistics. This example of a bullet train in Kyoto is proof of this. How much more technologically developed can a country be when they have access to this kind of public transport? What is the next stage of development beyond a bullet train? Wind farms are another example of extremely advanced technology used by some countries today. Many people and countries consider technology like this to be one of the possible futures of energy production, especially energy production that has a small impact on the environment. This is the first example we have looked at so far that considers development and the effects on the environment. This picture showcases the level of development in education in one of the most prestigious universities in the world. What would the students in the lecture hall consider development in terms of their classroom and education? There's a projector on the roof, speakers against the wall, massive chalkboards to write on, and they have access to some of the brightest minds in the academic universe. This picture, on the other hand, is of a school somewhere in rural Africa. Now, I know you might say I'm choosing pictures that are polar opposites of each other, but the truth is these places do exist and serves as an example of different people having different definitions of development. The students in this classroom will have vastly different ideas for what basic development of their education mean compared to the people who are sitting in the lecture hall in the previous picture. This image of the Shanghai skyline at night shows bright lights and exceptional architecture. What would the possible futures of development be for the people living in the city? Higher wages? Even taller buildings? If these pictures still haven't shown you why development is a complicated concept, let's try measuring levels of development. Is development an improvement in living conditions? How does one even measure or improve living conditions? By having more money or better things? Better food? Is development an improvement in technology? How about creating new, better phones, like the iPhone 10, 11, the new one, the 12? Or is development about reducing unemployment or poverty? If you think about it, development is really all of these things. All this being said, however, we still need to come up with a suitable definition for development. The most effective way to do this is to firstly realize that we have discussed three basic aspects or concepts within the concept of development in this video. These three aspects are the economy, the society, and the environment of different peoples or countries. From these aspects, we can conclude that development can be defined as a betterment of a country's economic, societal, and environmental conditions. The details of how we can measure economic, social, and environmental development are for other videos, where we can focus on each concept with more depth and analyze the effectiveness of the indicators used to measure the development of those aspects. So for now, let's summarize what we've learned in this video. Development is a complicated concept that means something different to every human being on Earth. Measuring development is also tricky, as there are many ways to measure the development of a community or a country. Development's three main aspects are the economy, society, and the environment. And that's all, folks. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you found it enjoyable and educational.